And if you see too, he's also adding bathrooms, new bathrooms downstairs.
New bathrooms downstairs?
New ones downstairs, handicapped, accessible.
Oh, okay.
And the men's now is going to be a kitchenette and everywhere for the employees to eat.
This one's gonna have a kitchenette.
Well, yeah, they're getting rid of that men's room and he's gonna block it off and it's gonna be like a kitchenette place for the employees to eat. Like
What the men's room is gonna be a kitchenette.
Yes.
They're not gonna have a kitchenette.
No. And then the 2 bathrooms are gonna be over. That's how that's gonna work out.
All right, so does anyone want to chair the meeting tonight, or do you want me to assist?
You might as well pick it up, Jess.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to call the CIP meeting of July 26th to order at 6:02. So tonight, we're just meeting as a committee, just to kind of, get to know one another. I haven't had the opportunity to work with you before.
Yep.
Just to kind of go over, basics of CIP, give everybody an opportunity to try to get familiar with the updated plan, things like that. So for committee members, we have Roger Sample, so he's on the planning board. Guy Maloney, he's going to be our budget committee rep. And Andrew Morse, you're a selectman, and Gabby O'Toole is our citizen member. Patrick O'Brien and Frank Rich are also citizen members, and they're not here tonight. And we're actually down a citizen member. So if you know of anyone that's interested in sitting on the CIP as a citizen member, we have an open seat. So number 2 on the agenda, election of officers. I did talk to Frank Rich earlier, and he did offer to stay as chair if the committee chooses to do so. And I'm unsure if Pat wants to stay vice chair. So I don't know if you guys want to just hold off until next time. We'll just continue that to the next meeting.
It's fine with me.
Okay. All right. So discussion of CIP process. Why are we here and what are we doing? So I know the few of you have been on CIP before. Now, Andrew, this is probably new to you.
Yep.
Feel free at any point in time to, ask questions, or if it's not a meeting, call me in the office or whatever, if you have any questions on anything. So the capital improvement program is created to guide the budgeting process for capital projects in all of the departments, whether it be vehicles, equipment, apparatus. And this year we're trying to, I know some of the department heads are trying to focus on putting money aside for, future building needs. So that's been a discussion a lot throughout master plan and with this committee in prior years to start putting money away. I'm sorry.
Yes.
What else?
Was Brock on this committee last year?
Yes,
Oh, it was another town that he had meetings, right?
probably his own town that he works for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we
And it was,
never had a select
yeah.
meeting.
Oh, he was on budget committee. That's what it was. So the budget committee kept scheduling meetings,
Oh, is that
same
right?
nights we had CIP. So it's got a little frustrating.
Yeah,
Um,
so we know, we'd always have questions. and
Yeah.
Why did the selectmen do this? Why did they do that?
Yeah.
And we never had anybody against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to interrupt you for a second, the first thing I went by the town yard today and I see that brand new logo down there.
Yep.
I see here, it's looking like 2023 and 2028.
All right, so if we can clue Andrew in on the plan.
Yep.
Well,
So,
I think I just want to say that.
yeah,
Have a selectman here to answer.
Oh,
these
yeah.
questions.
yep, yeah. Just so that you can kind of navigate through this.
Yep.
Can look a little chaotic, but once you know what you're looking at,
Yep.
it's a great tool.
Okay.
So the first 2 pages are a summary. So the summary includes just the departments that have put in items for CIP that are going to get created into warrant articles. So you might not see like the water department's not on here, or say solid waste or library. So there are some departments that are not on the first 2 pages.
Okay.
So as you go through the rest of the plan, pages 3 through 12, breaks down the departments. Some of the departments have individual items, like the larger departments like fire and highway.
Yep.
There are, other categories that have to do with, building improvements, things like that. When you get to highway, other than the equipment, you get into, that's where the highway road construction, sidewalk, bridges, sand shed, things like that come into play. I have input some of the information so far from the department heads. This morning, I received info from administration and fire, so that's not updated and reflected on this plan yet, because I had already gone through everything, printed it and prepped everything. So at our next meeting, I'll have that stuff updated. And I'm waiting to get some information from Josh from the IT department. So that's also not updated yet. And I'm also trying to meet with the school superintendent to meet with him. I know he was new last year and he was trying to get on board and creating a new capital improvements program for the SAU. So that's also not updated here. So there's still some work that needs to be done. So we sit as a committee, we go over this and then we present it to the planning board. And from the planning board, it then gets presented to selectmen and the budget committee, and it gets taken over from there. So in your packets tonight, I gave you a copy of the memo that I had sent out to the department heads. I got the report from finance department for the capital reserve funds. So, and I've tried to organize it in a way that I've color coded the departments, so it's easier to kind of look at. So these capital reserve funds is what is quoted throughout this plan.
Okay.
So that's that. So that's just kind of like for your information. This is a spreadsheet that the finance director does. Evidently, the reports that come from the trustees don't have the amounts that were appropriated in March until the end of the year or the following January. So when you get their reports, the numbers aren't current.
Okay.
So she does this great spreadsheet, and thank you to Laura for preparing this, because otherwise we wouldn't know where we'd be at throughout the year. How much is in the account, how much got appropriated, what got spent, until like a whole year later. So it's really, this is valuable.
Yep.
And I like the color coding. I think that's awesome.
Makes it a little easier.
Yeah. Well, it's just a lot easier for the eye to say, oh, okay, oh, yellow is highway.
Yep.
I
don't think I gave you guys a copy of the ballot. I don't think
Yeah.
did I put that in there? Oh, I did.
Yep.
Okay. So I just, I copied this just so that you guys had a chance to see what was on the ballot for warrant articles through the CIP this past March. There were a couple of items that changed in the dollar value, and that was the highway reconstruction. CRF and there's another one. I think there was two of them. Mark that one down. So we don't really need to go over that in case anyone had any questions on last year's stuff, just as a follow-up or,
Yeah, because I think I answered my own question, but
okay.
basically this is maybe days of learning experience for me. Actually, the loader, you know.
Yep.
Well, here I read to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $127,600 for the purchase of a loader. Said funds are not to come from unassigned balance. There will be no funds raised from general taxation. I don't know what the hell that means. What does that mean?
I'm assuming, I'm not 100% sure, but it's from the funds that have been gathered. So we're not raising taxes to fund that money. Does that sound? That's
Right, yeah, so what?
So we're not raising taxes that money should be already in a fund.
Well, isn't that the CIP fund that we have
Right,
here?
so, right, I mean, I suppose there are times that equipment might break down that you're not really too sure of why it's not on a plan to begin with. I don't know, I can't speak to that.
Mhm.
But using the funds from the general fund at the end of the year, there's, leftover money from the budget. So that money, instead of the department creating a warrant article and then now the taxpayers are paying money off of that, they use some of those excess funds to pay for sort of one-off items like a loader. So then that way, some of that money gets used, the remaining money stays in the general fund and that kitty, but yet you don't have to create a warrant article and then have the taxpayers pay out some more money.
This, do we go back to our CIP budget and scratch out the loader?
I'm not sure, that wasn't indicated on any of the paperwork that was provided to me, but that's a good question.
You know, I mean, with that money, especially whereas now all of a sudden we're gonna be adding buildings to this. I mean, we were scraping every penny to keep it near $1 with what we had.
Right.
Now, buildings. Stuff.
What number is that? The loader, is that down here? Oh, is that HD 27?
Right on the top.
Oh, okay.
On this one.
Oh,
right
okay, I see, it's way at the top. Way at the top.
here.
Page 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to check with Scott on that. I have other questions for him as well, so.
Looks like, so they bought it in 2016. It's supposed to be placed in 2023. And there's $350,000 appropriated for that.
No, that money's not appropriated at the top. That's just those are 2 items to be leased. So that doesn't get included in with our numbers. That's just sort of for informational purposes, being a large capital item that gets just sort of noted on the plan.
Did you say 2023? That was the grader.
Oh,
That's the grader for next year. The loader was,
oh, actually, the loader is 2022.
yeah, because that's when the warranty
Yep.
ran out. Because the big thing is staying on the warranties with this equipment because it's so expensive to fix. And you have to go, our mechanics doesn't have the ability with all the new technology to plug stuff
Right.
in and then know how to diagnostic test it, and then figure out what's wrong with it and then fix it. So it really has to go back to the dealerships. So we don't want to get out of any of these warranties.
Right,
Or
and
we could be in
it
trouble.
could be a matter that it was decided that it was more efficient or less expensive to outright purchase it than to lease
Yeah,
it.
that part I'm
Not sure.
not sure on.
What that discussion was.
I can see here that it was
Yeah.
what here that was supposed to.
Yeah.
So where is CIP money held and under what category?
They're held, they're, so when I get the reports, it's as if it's one account, but yet they're all labeled, separately so that, X amount of dollars goes towards something specific. There are some reports that I get that there's just one of these warrant articles listed on it, like for the senior center. I just get that one report from the trustees that just has senior center. That's probably in an account all on its own. Not entirely sure, but
So with our report, we say, each year this much needs to be funded.
yep.
So I'm just saying that they went and got a warrant, or is that $127,000 and that loader was like $300,000? So they took CIP money and put it together with the warrant money
I'm not sure about that.
because obviously we budgeted in the CIP program, but yet they went for a warrant article. That's,
Right, yeah, it's not really, that loader wasn't really budgeted in this CIP plan. It's on the plan for information, right? That section is just the leased items, so that didn't get incorporated into the tax rate.
okay, yep.
That was separate. So if you're looking at, say, you're on page 5, so all of these items that are listed out come out of the Highway Department equipment, CRF, Capital Reserve Fund.
All right, so at the bottom here is all the, what they spent, what they
I was just gonna
Yep.
say,
appropriated in there over whatever time, and then what they have left.
Yep, yeah, you got your red numbers over there and whatever year you're gonna purchase it. And then you have your green down there is how much you're depositing in each year.
Yep.
And then, you have your balance that you carry over. There are some spots in this plan that I've highlighted. So it's just kind of things that jumped out at me that was like, okay, that looks like that account's getting a little low
Yeah.
or it's in a negative.
Mm.
So the deposit amounts would have to be adjusted, which is what we do. So.
Yeah, like 2007.
Yeah, so I just sort of at a quick glance, I went through this and highlighted some areas that, could be problematic.
now I know you will put it on, but Scott is our new boss, and we're part of Public Works now, so we're no longer under Parks and Rec.
Yep, yeah, and for
That
the,
just happened I'm not it just happened on July 18th, so
yeah,
the first week.
yep, and I did talk to Scott and I talked to Ryan about this
You did? Okay.
DPW umbrella with all of the sort of
Yeah,
DPW as a department and sort of divisions underneath, but the plan is gonna stay
right.
separated.
Because I know they're buying the new van for me because the van will not be inspected or like Wayne said, no.
Yep, and that's on
Yeah,
here to be purchased.
That last year, didn't we?
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know if you guys want to go through, each department? Do you have, questions on anything before we start kind of looking at some things or? All right, so the fire department's not updated in the plan. I just received some information this morning. So These are last year's numbers that we're looking at for the fire department. I just went over to page 3. In your binder, I did give you the paperwork. They submitted paperwork for the ambulance revolving fund, which again is only on the plan as informational purposes, just because they're high dollar value items. That comes out of its own fund. Yeah, I'll have to go through this and update the plan for our next meeting, and then that way it's, clearer. So what's needed or what's already been purchased.
So anything for the fire department here is from last year. It's nothing.
Correct. Yep. So I don't know if you guys want to just skip over the fire department for now. You're really just looking at old numbers.
Yeah. Probably.
So I did have some questions for Scott at Highway. So in the highway section of your binders, you did this really great write-up on things that he had planned on purchasing this year that was on the plan. And then there are the future years and items that he's intends on potentially purchasing. In this write-up, he talks about rock crushing, and I had a question on that. Just because he's requesting a little bit more funds than what we had already laid out as a committee. So I just wanted to see if his projection for expenditure in 2027 was going to move up. So I do have a question on that.
There's G and M,
Grounds and maintenance.
grounds and maintenance. So Scott's in charge of that as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's why I'm seeing Scott's name before the highway department.
the other question I had for Scott was on the Bay paving project. Because he talks about the Bay parking lot being paved at the same time that the sidewalk is going to be worked on. So I wasn't sure if he's asking for a separate line item for this paving. Is it going to come out of a paving line item? Is it going to come out of like a sidewalk line item? I wasn't sure if he's wanted something, separate.
Did we just do the sidewalk down there?
I know that they had been talking about, I don't know if it's been done or if it's another
Depends on
section.
what side, I don't know what sidewalk.
Or are we talking about a different set? I mean,
Well, I know in front of the bandstand, that's all cracked and everything, and I know that they're looking at that as well.
we're
right,
talking
look
about
at.
the road or that?
No, you know that,
On the-
that like the bricks,
Yeah.
oh, they're
Yeah.
all broken, there's like
Yeah.
6 that are broken.
Shibley's down.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're gonna re-put or just cement it or what they're gonna do with it now, because it seems like that's not like the best material to use as bricks for the public. I mean,
It's tough.
It's
I'm from an
tough.
old town and there's
Yeah.
bricks and cobblestone still.
yeah,
It's tough.
So-
Yeah, we haven't talked about any of that, so.
Um, There were a lot of items that these existing items of equipment that Scott had gone through, and he updated the cost of the project just with inflation and all. So there are a lot of numbers here that got updated, and he went through the column of the year for replacement. They kind of, reassessed. Now that he's been here, for a while, now he's had that chance to, view everything and assess what he has or what he needs. So a lot of that stuff's been updated. Anyone have any questions on the equipment stuff?
Sidewalk machine purchase, May 2022. I thought we $88,000. But that wasn't gonna happen. We already had one.
The one that.
Every new guy wants his own piece of equipment that doesn't work.
Yeah, but that one that we do have, that one's very, very dangerous. It flips over, it's dangerous. The one that they have, that.
Okay,
one
when
that
it comes off the sidewalk.
Yes.
It's, yeah, I don't know how to answer that one, but yeah, the old sidewalk machine, whatever was said that was gonna work, wasn't working properly. And it didn't have like the high flow to get rid of that heavy snow. Like when we got a wet snow,
Yeah.
couldn't do anything with it. And just because the snow was so heavy, it wasn't going through that snow blower. So what we got now is the high flow, and it's supposed to stay on the sidewalk better. It's supposed to be the right one.
Supposed to be.
Yeah. So that's,
It's gotta be narrow to be on the sidewalk.
yeah, because the
So if it's narrow,
sidewalks,
it's chippy.
because the sidewalks aren't,
Wide, sidewalks aren't wide.
but they're not as wide as I guess they should be.
Unfortunately, there's not
It's-
all kinds of room.
Right, you got walls, then it gets into people's lane, yeah, it's going down through town is a headache with widening
Well,
sidewalks and
it's
stuff.
what Rollins Hill to
Yeah,
Bayes.
days, yeah.
I mean, it was really bad last winter because we had so much ice.
Yeah.
The ice is really damaging a lot of stuff. Because the ice built up and then it just built up, and then we couldn't do anything with it. And then it was like, you bring in the loader and then you tear up the cement because the loader will scrape it, so like that.
Wing plow 2 inches off the sidewalk all the way along. Then that little snow blower doesn't have much work.
Yeah, then some people don't want the wings on the sidewalk and,
Looks like they already bought it in May anyway, so.
Yeah.
We'll wait to hear the stories on this one, how it doesn't work.
yep, well,
So Jeff, can you tell, are we doing anything here? Are they following what we propose?
I would think so. I don't see anything that's drastically different. But from, what do you mean, like from last year or like from,
Well, I just mean
In
like,
general?
we put all these figures out there, do they just do what they want to do anyway, or?
no, actually, it was a really good year. Out of the, pretty big handful of warrant articles that went, to the selectmen and budget through deliberative. There was only 2 of them that changed, and they didn't change drastically. They did increase, obviously, because things don't decrease, you know?
Never, never.
Yeah,
that
you
can
know,
happen.
I mean, it increased, but I don't think that, you know, it really killed our numbers at all. Let's see. Yeah, so the other highway department, CRFs on page 6. Look pretty, they're pretty much the same as last year. I do have a question for Scott as to, you know, I'd like a little more information on that retaining wall, like when does he, you know, when does he plan on getting done, sort of,
Didn't it say something? Wasn't I just reading something about that retaining
is
wall?
that in there? If you can find a date somewhere, that would be great.
Where was I reading it?
Number 7 says Bay Dock retaining wall project. On the,
No, I was reading it over here. They
that's what, yep.
$22,000 for Stony Ridge.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's in number 7.
Yeah,
Did you
number
find
7.
it somewhere else? In his,
No.
like in his narrative, that's what we're looking at.
That's where I read it.
Okay, yeah,
I know.
yeah. Did you see a separate sheet like this, Roger? Is that what you're talking about? Where you saw the retaining wall? Because I didn't see
Because I
one.
don't even have a page 7.
Not page 7, number
Yeah.
7, page 3, number 7.
Oh,
Sorry,
page
sorry.
3.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Formed in the fall. You looking for a more specific date than that?
No, I guess not. So I don't know what the request would be going forward, because this plan is 2023 through 28. So if he's spending it in 2022, then I don't know if there's any additional work after this work gets done. Because there's $101,000 in that account right now.
I would say there is a,
So I'm not sure if going forward, there needs to be additional funds, or if $101,000 is plenty to cover $22,000 of work.
isn't it funny how
Yeah.
the work for the wall is 22,320 and the work for the community center is 22,330.
So that I had a question on whether that needed any funds. Is that all
Yeah.
set? Or
If
is
there's
that
more plans, if there's another phase to it,
right?
or more wall to fix later
Yep.
on. Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, that's
Yep.
a good question.
I think that's pretty much it on that page, unless you guys have questions on stuff.
Actually, number 11 shows more. retaining wall by the community center, so there might be another phase to it.
Okay, and then that is listed at, what's that referred to as? I'd have to look at the wording of that warrant article to see if that is specific
To what wall?
to this, yeah, the Alton Bay Docks area, or if that was just sort of retaining wall in general. You'd have to like
Yeah.
look and see what that, because if it's written specific, then you're writing a
Yep.
second warrant article, right?
I'm wondering, maybe Stony Ridge is just the engineer and one's getting the application. And it's
Yeah.
actually the $500,000 that's for doing the job.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that.
You just might be right,
Yeah, because Stony Ridge does sound like it's,
because it's written in here twice, so. That might be it. But yeah, that'll be something I'll ask him when he's back from vacation.
oh yeah, because Stony Ridge Environmental is getting the shoreline protection.
All right. Guys are all set. We can move over to the grounds and maintenance.
Is that backtracking?
G and M, grounds and maintenance.
Next page, page 7.
So it just looks like a couple of items. So one item for next year, which Gabby was talking about, replacement vehicle for her. And to replace an old truck in 2025.
When 2025 would be in the negative.
So that's when he plans on purchasing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we gotta,
Yeah, so that, yeah, that needs some serious help. And then the buildings, grounds and maintenance for the building improvements. They're really trying to update and upgrade, I guess, the Alton Bay Community Center.
I want to see vinyl siding on the outside of that.
Community center?
Yeah,
Never gonna happen.
I know, but I want it to be like that, to cover up all the, markings, initials,
Carvings?
or, initials,
Right.
kids and stuff. But I like Marty said we can do it any color we want.
He said you could do it.
Paint it any color we wanted and do anything with it.
He said you could vinyl side it.
no,
Yeah, I didn't ask him if he could vinyl cite it, but I did ask him, we did ask him about the colors. I didn't personally ask him, but
Oh, you mean color of paint,
Yeah,
not
color.
vinyl.
yeah, color paint. And he said, we have a choice. We just have to paint it Victorian style, older. But any color, didn't care. I don't think that was the original color it is right now anyways.
I suspect it was probably white.
Yeah, I think it was repainted and then the inside is green.
Right.
I don't know if that was the original at all either.
That's an interior color. That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But the exterior color,
Yeah.
I would have thought he would have told you, yeah, you can paint it any color. Here's a historic color chart.
Yeah,
yeah, he didn't really say, I mean, just said you have a choice. I mean, because I don't think that was the original color, that's why.
White for many years.
Maybe that's the color it should be.
what color is it in now?
It's a greenish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Green and
Yeah, it's
gray.
darker. Yeah, okay.
Well, gray, and then it has 3 different color greens.
Okay, because I was gonna
Because
say
no
I
one
knew it was
matched.
darker, but I couldn't remember
Yeah.
exactly what.
It's like one green, one year, one painted, like Caswell must have painted it one color, green, and then someone else painted another color green. So it's like, it has mixed green.
So yeah, it looks like they're just doing the upgrades to the community center and to the senior center. Let's go around. Repairs and upgrades to the Pearson Road Community Center would include replacing the roof and floors, interior painting of ceiling and rooms.
Roof and floors.
It needs new floors.
Yep.
The
Place
floors
roof and
are
floors.
coming up and ripping apart. And
Tile?
yes, they're all cracked.
How old is that building?
It's not that old.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, 2006. They just did, in 2014, they just did the paving. So it's not that old.
Or does it have some cracked tiles?
Almost the whole, like if you walk in the first building, it's all cracked because the floor, I think the earth moved. And so it cracked a lot of the floor, you know? And then on the hall where the washer and dryer are, it's all coming up, all the vinyl is up. Or up.
Who did the construction on that?
Multiple people.
Explain.
T-Man
Yeah,
did some framing there.
yeah,
I think the Rotary probably did some.
yeah.
Did the town do the dirt work?
Yes.
And I don't think they really leveled it all that well. And plus the skylights were never sealed, so they leaked. And the ceiling all fell apart. Yeah, it's a mess over there. I mean, you know, I try to
And
clean.
now next time I go there, I'm gonna have to look around.
I know, yeah.
I always go in there and I think that, you know, the place is shiny and
It
clean
is,
and
it always is. I always clean it.
I think the only time I've been
know.
in there is the time they voted in there.
But if you look at the ceilings, there's drip marks all over. Yeah,
What was that, like 3 years ago they voted there?
no, more than that.
Was it more than?
yeah,
Time
and the
flies.
Yeah, it
ceiling-
does, yeah.
and the roof keeps on flying off, and then
Hmm.
one of the big huge trucks hit the little, I don't know what they call them, like the ace shaped awning. One of the trucks hit it and made it all like cracked up. Crack is all cracked.
It's a shame.
It looks terrible.
All right. Does anyone have any questions on the building improvements?
Just had a really quick question. Looking at the some of the negatives, most in particular GM6, so Alton Bay Community Center property. So that request is for $100,000
Yeah.
for 2025. And clearly there's a huge gap. More money is going to be needed. So are we going to be making the recommendation to maybe increase that 25,000 to close that gap? And same thing down on GM7 for the senior center, because that's not even funded.
Right.
That's $75,000.
Yeah, I know that one's not funded at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that ends up, you know, that's as Pat likes to put it, that's when we start playing the shell game.
Yeah.
And then you're inputting your numbers and trying to see trying to see where you end up at, with your tax rate. So that's kind of like our ultimate goal, Andrew, is to kind of, on that last page, at that line in yellow.
Yeah.
So what historically, this committee has done a fabulous job with trying to keep it somewhere around $1-ish, give or take some cents here or there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that's once we do in that shell game and transferring, numbers, how much to deposit here and this year in that department,
Yeah, 'cause
things like that.
So if you get up
should-
above $1, the tax, you.
Yeah,
tax
and
rate's
then
gonna
you're
go up.
trying to kind of keep it
Yeah.
even throughout that 6-year
Yeah.
period. So then you're not having those spikes in the tax rate or lower. And then, so the committee does a really good job with that.
Yeah, and looking at the tax impact, I mean, as it is right now, it's not a big impact. And I think by adding, a little bit more to kind of bridge that deficit, I don't think that it's going to be a whole lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
because,
achievable. It's definitely.
yep,
Yeah.
right, because the town's assessment went up. So then that decreased all of the tax rates. Because this was at like 98 or something cents, more or less across the bottom line last year. Then when I went in and I changed, updated the town's assessment throughout all of these calculations, it, brought it down like 10 cents.
Yeah.
So that might allow the committee to, add on a little bit here or there and kind of make each department sort of better off. The ultimate goal is to kind of have enough in the reserve fund so that if the most expensive item broke down throughout the year, unscheduled,
Yeah.
unexpected, you had money in the fund to be able to replace it.
Yep.
So you're kind of carrying that balance,
Yeah.
year to year, with that projected amount. Does anyone have any other questions on that? Page 7? And again, we're on page 8, and the same thing with this, for the cemetery. The equipment storage garage is something brand new. So there's nothing put away, for that. So as we go along, I'll have to break down enough to be able to purchase that in the projected 2027. Then if you get down to the Parks and Recreation, this Jones Field was a new CRF that was created last year. So this is pretty much, as long as you just keep sort of status quo, it looks like they'll be able to have enough funds by 2027 to make all the upgrades to that. So that looks fine, the way it is.
It'll be nice when they have it.
Hmm.
Park straight and they don't park all crazy.
Yep. Any questions on that stuff? So we're on page 9, where we have the assessing department, and the building department, pickup replacements. I know this was talked about last year as to, why don't we lease it instead of, purchasing it? It just seemed like in the long run, it was just better to save for it and purchase it outright than lease it.
They're rather new, aren't they? Both their trucks, they don't have many miles on them.
No, this is projected to be spent in 2020 and 2030.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so if you start saving now, then you can put less away in the long run, and it's,
By 2030, you'll have half the money you need with the way vehicle prices.
right.
Oh my God, they better slow down.
Yep.
I know you want to buy a new vehicle.
Yeah, so it was better off to purchase it and to put it on the CIP plan. Capital item has to be $20,000 or more and have a greater life, a 3-year or greater lifespan end up on here, so. So those are those 2 items. And then just this police building expansion, just, it sits there. There's only $192 in that account. But that was the potential, as if the police department became too small, then this project was to put, a potential second floor on the building if needed. So that just kind of sits there as a placeholder.
Ryan was in here last year and told us the building was adequate.
Yep, which it is.
It is, but if they get, like, if they hire more, 6 more policemen, then it will be too small.
6 more
I
policemen?
mean, if they hire 6 more, then it will be too small.
If they
right now,
hire
it's
6
just
more, they'll have
perfect.
too many.
I don't think you can have too many cops. I don't think so.
I,
Not in this world.
huh?
Not in this world. I think you need a lot more. I do. I think so.
I think we have an adequate, what we got? I think we have an adequate.
Oh, I
Well, I think 20,
think 12, I think, are full-time, part-time.
yeah, part-time and everything. Not that many.
You don't need them until you need them.
Right,
And when you pick up the
Right.
phone and call 911 and you need an officer.
yes.
And you only have one on, and
Right.
you live on the Wolfboro town line, and they're on the Guilford town line,
Yeah.
that's when you want some.
There's usually a couple on.
Just
How
like,
many cops are on duty at night?
I think probably in the overnight, we run 1 officer in Wolfboro for the midnight shift. I don't believe Alton runs 2. My opinion, I think they should.
So you got three shifts.
Probably a couple in the day, probably a couple at night.
You have 4 for 2 of the shifts. That's 8 cops. You still have another 4 for the overnight shift.
But then you have days off, you have vacation, you have training, you have a lot of other factors in there.
Roger, we have a lot of vandalism down at the bay. We do have a lot. That's why we're locking the bathrooms at night. We have drug addicts.
All right, if we can get back to the
I
plan.
had a really quick question on,
Yeah.
when we were chatting about the buildings. Has there been a meeting with the facilities committee yet or no?
So we've had one meeting so far. We have one scheduled coming up soon. I have to look at my calendar to get the exact date. And that just would be our second meeting. I know that the fire chief and public works director submitted some sort of like proposals of they elaborated more on the building needs that they had submitted last year, which was great. So they updated that stuff, and then we're gonna start talking about that. There's, potential for some land in town. There's, a couple different options floating around. So we're just at the very beginning stages of that right now. Any other questions on page 9? All right, so page 10 with the solid waste recycling center, this 1.2 million, I believe is not coming directly out of the CIP. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to be funded. But I don't think that's technically going to be a CIP item per se. Again, that was another question I had to talk to Scott about. Because there's no way you're saving up 1.2 million in 2 years, or 3 years rather.
What's it for? The site?
Yep, so,
Site
yep,
improvement?
site building improvements.
What do they do?
I think he elaborated more on that in that worksheet that he submitted.
There's 4 compactors.
I think so. Maybe the one, 2 more. In.
Is 2 for trash and 2 for recycling.
Oh, yeah.
So the solid waste, this facility, garage, they want to build. To construct a 60-foot by 100-foot solid waste facility drive-through. I don't know what M stands for, MSW, so M something solid waste and recycling disposal. And that's actually a different number from this.
Yeah, that was
I
1 point.
think. Because I just noticed that. So.
That's,
That actually goes out, that actually is supposed to go into 2026.
Department of Public Works proposed to dump as well.
No. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, okay,
Solid
maybe.
waste and water.
Yeah.
Grounds and maintenance.
Yeah. That back.
Is cemetery as well, or is cemetery with the park and is with Kelly and Park and Rec?
No, cemeteries with Scott too.
Is, okay, so Kelly's, that baby is Park and Rec.
Yep.
Okay. So I have to talk to Scott about this as well, because on the worksheet that he submitted, there's a different amount than the narrative that he wrote up. So that's another question I have for him. Does anyone have any questions on solid waste info? So this morning I did get a submission from Ryan for town hall under the town government administration. What administration had been doing is putting money aside for a sprinkler system for up here. But there are changes that are going to be made to the room to not have to need a sprinkler system. So I believe they're going to take some of these funds and put it towards other repairs and upgrades and things like that, that are needed for town hall. That's sound right? Yeah. So again, I'll have to update this because I just got that this morning, so that will not state sprinkler system at the next meeting. If you look at the sheet, that worksheet, I had a question for you guys. The administration worksheet that came from Ryan, so I don't quite have, he has a dollar value. And he was looking to do the repairs next year. So it's not really quite a really good CIP item, just because there's not time to save for it. All of that, so that $40,000 would have to be put in here for a one-time fix for the restrooms.
Where are we looking?
So we are on the worksheets from administration. It should be in your binder. The first tab would be
First page.
administration.
Now, where I pulled this out.
Nope, you could pull that out of the front sleeve.
Right after the first
First
tab. The yellow, grab your yellow, flip it once. Boom.
Yep.
That-
Yes. Yep, so I'll change out that sprinkler system information with the restrooms. So I guess it would be up to the committee to decide if there would be more funds put away in all of the rest of the years, because he plans on purchasing it next year, doing these upgrades. So there's really not a whole lot of years to put away $40,000, it's just one lump sum to put on the plan.
What is there, is there 61 in there now? 61.
There is, yes. Yep, that's the existing balance.
It wouldn't hurt this year if that was taken out, it would knock the balance down.
Right, right. And then it's a matter of, you know,
If we're
what do you
putting-
want to continue to put away
Yep, okay.
for all the remaining years?
Yeah.
I'm falling behind. The what's that?
Page 10.
Page 10 way at the bottom.
So that how much has been funded for that so far? Did you say 60,000?
$61,516 is currently in that,
Okay.
in the town hall building improvement CRF.
So not just,
It's not like a town hall sprinkler system CRF. It's just, this was the item that was being saved up for, you know, to come in compliance.
yeah,
But now that, you know, the configuration of the room is changing, that's not needed anymore, so.
what was the date that was going to be?
The sprinkler system?
Yeah,
Um,
way down the road, wasn't it?
right, I think the estimate, so the estimate was that $203,811. You see that on that?
Yeah.
So that's with a 5% increase yearly. So every year I added 5% to that number. That was, that estimate was from, I don't know, probably like at least 5 years old now at this point, which is probably way outnumbered at this,
Yeah.
at this stage of the game. So that's probably a way off number. So it would have been projected in 2029.
So
Is there any other time, and can't they just get the $40,000 from that fund?
So, yeah, I mean, they can probably use the 40,000 out of that existing 61.
So some of it was for other stuff.
Right,
maybe.
but there are evidently more plans to do additional upgrades to the building. So it would be an ongoing,
Just increase that
fund.
14,000 maybe to like, just pick a number, 25,000, kind of make up that gap.
yep, yeah,
Well, it'd be kind of handy to know what planning and costs, and you know what to increase it to.
right. I did discuss that with him. I said, I need some backup info or some
Never want to give.
plans or something or other. So I just wanted to point out on page 10, the year dates at the top. I evidently missed that section. So it should start way, way, way at the top column. It should actually start off with 2023, not 2022. So, you know, I'll fix that. Any other questions on any items over here on this page? All right, if we want to go over to page 11. The waterworks departments, pretty much funded by their own revenue account. So again, these are items just listed on here as, you know, major purchases that would take place at certain points in time, whenever they're projected to be purchased. So that's just information. The IT department, I still need to get some information from Josh if he's planning on doing anything in addition. I'm sure what he has laid out already, you know, he had a pretty good plan for all of the upgrades to servers and, you know, computers throughout all the departments and everything. So I just don't know if he plans anything out from 2028 or after. I'll get with him on that and then update that for the next meeting.
I could have sworn when I first started, Waterworks had 400 plus thousand in their reserves. I've got a lot of trucks.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's spenders over there.
But they probably need it.
That's it with that. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to get in touch with the superintendent so that we can update this whole page with the central school and the Prospect Mountain. So again, these are old numbers for the school. It's tough to meet with them. They do their CRF for the central school in like June, and then they don't do the capital items for the high school until like October. And that's usually when we're presenting the plan to the planning board. So that's tough. So we kind of missed it last year, but yet he was new and he wanted to implement all kinds of, you know, a new plan. He reached out to me a couple months ago and asked if he could get on a meeting. I said, we don't have, the committee hasn't started yet. I don't know when we're meeting. I don't have, you know, future dates. He was trying to get in to a meeting, but I didn't have anything to schedule him for, so. So I'll get all that stuff updated for the next time we meet. Yep.
Something we're introducing to this program.
So in here.
I know the cemetery had the maintenance building.
Yep. I'd have to double check through like the fire department stuff. We hadn't been putting things away. So I have to look at his paperwork and see if things are included with that. But yes, that was one of the big topics with the master plan, and is actually being implemented with the update. Talk about future building needs and things like that. So that way, if it's in the master plan, we can kind of really help facilitate and move forward.
I mean, because there's all the talk about
Yep.
fire station.
Right.
Shouldn't that be anything?
Yep. So,
I mean, that's gonna take that dollar number.
right. And I'm gonna take a guess that in the fire department's paperwork somewhere, there's potentially something to do with buildings.
I look,
Because there is a note, it's noted here in this narrative from the highway department, last page, that he was looking to start putting money aside for a public
fire
works
department
facility.
building improvements. $364,000, 238.
Yep,
That's what money they're sitting on now.
yes, that's existing. Yep, so I'll have to talk to him with that if I don't see any of that in the paperwork. Because those were the two departments that the facilities committee is talking about, fire and highway. For a joint building.
Well, there is a rumor I heard, I don't know how true it is, but they were thinking about building a big facility that costs $5.2 million. Have fire, police, everybody under one. They're gonna do that, where the state, you get gas, that street.
State shed?
Yeah, the state shed is, right across the street is the property they're looking at.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that we've been
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah, and they were thinking of doing that instead of all these.
Right, but that 5 million doesn't include fire, that's just highway.
I thought fire was.
That's high, no, the dollar amount, the 5 million is just for the public works portion of the building, not the fire
It
fire
isn't the fire
department.
at all,
No, that's probably another 6
3
million.
million.
A lot. But
It's probably more than the police, the highway section.
Looking at it as, I like to keep things as simple as possible. Sometimes simple costs a little bit more money, but keeping buildings together, I think is smart. Because eventually the PD is going to be too small,
Right.
and it's like, do you take advantage of bond rates now, or either you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later? So I'm, at least it's good that they're having that discussion, because I think
Yeah.
it's important.
Right.
Have discussion now and then not wait 5-10 years and be like, we should have done it this way.
Right. Because there was talk of a potential triplex instead of a complex, to include the police department,
Right.
That's
police, fire and highway.
less fuel
And then there's
to,
your emergency management team, just
Right
all
there.
under one building. And then you're able to have, a shared space for, trainings, maybe meetings, things like that. So that way that maybe a, big enough area to vote in or something, something to kind of,
Even in the winter months, just
know.
it makes more sense instead of having town crews go from, one town building to the next, to the next, to the next. They can
yep,
get at least three departments cleared out in
right.
no time.
So, and if they 5 million for the highway, might as well be another 5 for the fire department. So
Yeah.
10 million. So that's not something that we're gonna be working. We're not gonna be putting that into our CIP program.
No,
They're never gonna get it if we have to do that.
no, right, right. So,
it's not an
right,
issue for us.
obviously there are other alternatives that the town's gonna have to look at in order to, fund that. That's why I said I want to look in the fire department and see if he has his portion of this, complex building. Because 5 million isn't for public works and fire. That's not enough. That's only half.
Not a quarter.
Yeah, like that's not gonna cover everything, but, so that's been the discussion, and we'll discuss that at our next facilities committee meeting and, go from there. And I think, once that takes place, then that will help alleviate, some of the pressure on the departments that may have, their cramped space, like Park and Rec. So then we can start shifting departments around and utilizing the existing buildings. That would be more efficient.
Because I feel like I'm at the highway, but my desk is over at Parks and Rec. I go to the highway, I do everything at the highway, but then I go back and do all my paperwork at my desk at Parks and Rec. So I don't have a place over at the highway, really. I just go there.
Yeah,
No, I can't.
that's where you go in the morning to get your marching orders.
Yeah,
What does Kelly do now?
she just does recreation.
Recreation.
Yeah. Only thing she does now. Like 5K race coming up. Just Santa,
Somebody.
Right. Summer camp programs,
programs.
Things for young, things for old. Middle.
All right, does anyone have any questions on anything that we reviewed tonight or need more information on it
No, I think
for now? Yep.
I don't know, I figure 3 or 4 years, I'm gonna understand all of this.
All right, so we do want to look at the calendar and we can start looking at some future dates if we're just moving right along on the agenda. All right. All right, so, let's see here.
I have to go around your schedule, Jess. You seem like you have too many.
Geez, already looking at close to the end of August. That can't happen. Let's see here. What about, are there any other nights that are not good for you? I mean, obviously, no Monday nights. But
Or
for-
every other Monday night.
Yeah, every other Monday.
Or
Obviously, when you're looking at the schedule, you're looking at planning board, you're looking
yeah,
I look at
at everybody, so
Everybody.
it's just a little bit that's left.
pretty
Big
much,
fund.
yeah.
I know.
So we could meet on the 11th, August 11th, which,
That would be good, because I could make it.
let me look here, August 11th. That might work out. Okay, there's a Conservation Commission has a meeting that night, but they meet downstairs. That's conflict for anybody that's here.
And that's not home.
Ruben's the selectman's rep for conservation, right? I think, it's not you.
No, it's not me.
Yeah,
When's home week again? What's the dates? Do you remember?
Is that
The home week, when are we having the date?
Old Home Week?
Yeah, old home.
That's Friday the 13th.
Right.
that's
so
when it begins.
The 11th.
Okay, so the 11th would be good for you, so that's
Good.
right before.
So after that, the rest of the month, I'm indisposed.
Okay,
Planning board meetings.
Yeah.
great. So how about we
That takes a
meet,
lot of your time.
August 11th at 6?
I'll write that down.
And I think maybe we should hold off on scheduling another date when we get the other two members. That might be a little better. You want to do that?
Makes
Okay.
sense.
All right.
And what day is that?
Thursday.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that means it's not Friday the 13th, it's Friday the 12th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good. That's good, because I don't like, I will stay home Friday the 13th. I will just stay home. I'm just kidding.
All right. So what you guys should be expecting from me at the next meeting, there may or may not be an updated report. So just leave that in your binder. I'll do an updated plan with all that information, and that hopefully I can get some answers from Scott before our next meeting. What else? And I'll start scheduling department heads to come in and meet with you guys, and then they present their stuff and go from there. All right. Well, I don't see any public, so apparently there's no public input. Anyone have any other questions, further discussion, comments? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
My motion. Adjourn.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned. 7:24.
Well done. Catch up with you maybe next week or.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.